Hi guys, it's April, and who's ready for some 2019 stats? Throughout 2019, I have been giving simplified reading stats each time I did a monthly wrap-up. This video, I want to delve a little deeper into that. Of course, I read 167 books in 2019, which totaled 50,501 pages. I averaged about 2 days per book, which means I read about 138 pages per day. So those were the simple stats that I had cooked up throughout the whole year. But let's go a little deeper into my stats. One of the things I had set out to accomplish in 2019 was to lower my TBR. I started out with 318 books on my TBR. I ended with 306. So theoretically, I did lower it. That is a thing that happened. I didn't lower it very far. Between only reading 168 books and uptaking over several hundred, things kind of evened themselves out. I was reading at the same rate I was procuring books, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but it is a stat that I have. As for the genre placement of everything I read, the top genre I read was supernatural with 37%, followed closely by fantasy and fairy tale with 22%, and then sci-fi snuck in there at third place with 16%, and then of course you've got all of the other genres making up the rest of my reading. Book types is a little misleading because I tend to read across multiple different formats for just one read, but I try to set it up that the format I read book the most in is what I put in for my spreadsheet. So the top book type was graphic novels at 35%, and this also includes manga. The second was hardcover at 32%, followed by trade paperback at 15%. And then, of course, the rest of the breakdown. As for the gender of the author that I read, it was about 50% female and 33% male, and anonymous, both, or non-gendered for the rest of them. As for digital versus physical reads, I was 84% physical and 16% digital. But like I said, this stat is very skewed because I read in both for one read. I am gonna put it in my spreadsheet for 2020 to have a both option, or I might set it up so that I can select a list of format types so I can figure more out of how that breakdown actually is. And then I can see books that I read multiple formats versus books I read only one format in. This year, my breakdown between series and standalones was that 67% of my reads was series, leaving the other 33% as standalones. I did manage to complete a grand total of 18 different series in 2019. I'm kind of excited about that number. I know some of my completed series might not actually be a completed series since authors keep extending series, but this is a graphic of all of the series that I managed to complete in 2019. Now, the book length breakdown is kind of interesting. I read 46 books that were in between 300 and 399, 45 books between 100 and 99, 31 between 400 and 499, 19 between 200 and 299, 13 under 100 pages, 10 between 500 and 599, 2 between 600 and 699, and 1 book that was greater than 1,000 pages. The shortest book that I read coming in at 22 pages was this free comic book that I got during Free Comic Book Day. It's just a compilation of a whole bunch of different free samples of comics you could try. And the longest read that I read coming in at 1,125 pages is West of the Moon, East of the Sun by Knife's Edge. This is actually, technically, if we want to get a little about it, is a fan fiction that I have loved for ages, and I tend to go back and reread sometimes. I counted it this year just because, yeah, why not? I read fan fiction. It's reading. If you don't like that, I'm sorry. As for the years these books were published in, it's no surprise that most of these are fairly new publications. 99 of these reads were published somewhere between 2016 and 2019, with the newest publication being Supernova. 42 of the reads were between 2010 and 2015. 19 of those reads were between 2000 and 2009. 4 of those reads were between 1990 and 1999. 1 of those reads was between 1980 and 1989, and 2 of those reads were between 1960 and 1969, the oldest book being The Four Love by C.S. Lewis. My average star rating ended up being 3.72, but a majority of my reads, 63 of my reads were 4-star reads, 46 were 3-star reads, 29 were 5-star reads, and then everything else in between. Now, if we compare my reads per month, my best reading month for number of books read was May with 26 books, but my worst reading month was December with only 6 reads. Something happened in December where I just kind of decided that I was gonna sit and relax, and reading wasn't a huge priority for me. But the funny thing is, if you go per page, October with 6,682 pages was my best reading month, but December is still my lowest reading month at 1,856 pages. For the average number of pages per day, of course, my best reading month was October, where I read an average of 250 pages a day. December, once again, was my lowest reading month with only 60 pages per day. If you want to continue to break that down, because why not? We like looking at numbers. October, I was reading a book a day. December, I was reading a book every 5 days. As for some random reading stats, one of the new discovered favorites of 2019 was Erin with his lore series. I absolutely adored this book. The way he narrates is amazing, so I'm going to be looking more into Erin Mankey. I loved him as an author. And the book that took me the longest to read at 275 days was The Kenville Incident. This book was just a thing that 2019 had to do. And I guess since we're just throwing out charts and numbers of things, here is just a visual of how my reading went as I slowly increased my reading count for the year. I also thought it would be interesting to look into some of my channel stats. I like numbers, so it only made sense that I looked into where my channel is sitting and how my channel did in 2019. And to also thank you guys for just watching my face and interacting with me, because none of these stats would be possible without you guys existing. I love you guys so much. In 2019, the channel accumulated 14,373 likes, 7,540 comments, 8,202 shares, which blows my mind, and 26,881 watch hours. Something happened in 2019 that just made the growth of my channel kick off. It completely took me by surprise. In 2019, I gained 4,000 subscribers, and I uploaded 171 videos. My third top performing video that I uploaded in 2019 was a review of House of Salt and Sorrow with 721 views. My second best performing video is my coloring supplies in storage with 1,073 views. And my best performing video that I uploaded in 2019 was my 108 Tombow dual brush pens and coloring swatches with 2,941 views. However, it was not a 2019 video that stole the show last year. It was actually a video I uploaded a couple years ago that seemed to have just taken off. It gained 535,000 views and totaled in about 25,000 watch hours and attributed to a lot of my growth, and that is my paper book rose tutorial. I never saw this one taking off, but apparently it did, and I don't know what to do. I'm gonna let it do its thing and continue to do my thing over here. I thought it was cool. It's information for you, but I must say that you guys are the ones who make all of this possible. Thank you guys so much for continuing to come back and watch my face and interact with me and make my day just so much better. I love reading with you guys. I love coloring with you guys. I love doing life with you guys. And here's to a very interesting 2020. I heart your beautiful faces.